international accreditation process, and it's a really enjoyable journey to undergo the accreditation. Now I would like to request Professor Sarma to present his views on whether this accreditation should be mandatory, particularly for expansion of the institution, or we should let the institution expand without having the quality, is one question that I would like you to address, sir.
Yeah, so I think, I was listening to Mr. Raman, he actually said that, if I got him correctly, he said accreditation is actually about independence. Right, and the question that you're asking him is that whether accreditation should be mandatory is exactly kind of
mandatory or the self-regulation.
Yeah, but again here, if I understand the idea of higher education well, so I think that all accreditation may have started as a voluntary process, but it is surely signaling a benchmark for quality. So in a sense that without making it mandatory, people are actually, I think all higher education institutes are actually started taking interest in accreditation. The very fact that school that I represent, IRMA has always a sense of quality of by themselves. I mean, in a sense that IRMA was not really looking at accreditations and assurance of quality from validated by other agencies. But in the last couple of years, IRMA has also started looking at and started thinking about accreditations and all kind of validation from external agency, which is actually also, it's not been mandatory as such, but we know that it's gives a signal to the world that this is important, that actually reflects some sort of quality. So in that sense, I think that whether in coming years, whether we say, whether nobody has to tell us that it's mandatory. I think that most of the institutes will start taking it very seriously. My last school, which was Tapni started, it's one of the first schools to get AICTE in India. But then, I mean, that's like kind of, so somebody has validated the quality of education in Tapni. But I think that they have not decided to stop there. Then they have opted for M1, and then they will go for the third one also. So in a sense that I see a point, in a sense that it's, without saying it, it will become more and more kind of mandatory benchmarking for institutes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Professor Biswal, your views.
Views is, let's see, sir, accreditation should never be up to the mandatory. So as after the said, and Raman said, yes, the steps should be, yes, initially for compliance, yes, compliance looks at after the summit, after the aspects. Beyond that, when it comes to the quality, so the required quality in terms of the teaching, after the curriculum and the delivery of it and all. So the accreditation bodies, they look at after that one, and that should always remain as after the validation of the thing. It should be left to the institutions, the organizations, when they actually decide to participate in any of the accreditation bodies on their own and voluntarily. So that can never be actually should not be the case of actually the mandatory.
Just would like to add that we have two types of processes currently available. One is for approval. One is called as approval of the college. So for setting up a new college, we give approval, and we have extension of approval every year. And AICTE or UGC or any regulatory body looks at the parameters which are there in their approval process handbook, which is published and revised every year. And there is another process called as accreditation. And accreditation, as of now, is not a mandatory process. It is, for up to the institution to go for or not go for. But I have given you the case example of Kuwait, where our engineers were sent back. So it is slightly, becoming mandatory for us. It is up to the institution. AICTE has made it mandatory for those institutions who would like to expand. If you want to start a new program, suppose civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics are being run, and somebody want to go for computer engineering or instrumentation, we look at the quality of the existing programs, if they have established track record in terms of quality. If they would like to expand, AICTE has stopped expanding for last 2 years. So now, for those institutions, it is mandatory. Madam, your views.
I also go with Professor, that I don't think we can make it mandatory for any institute to go for an accreditation or not. But having said that, maybe we see in last 5 years, most of the institutes are either going for any of the national accreditation, or I'm talking about the maybe the top 20-25% of the institutes, or in the process of getting into an international accreditation. Again, rankings, I will not treat it the same way we talk about accreditation, because ranking is something which almost every institute participate, and the parameters are not the same as how we treat an accreditation. But yes, for me, we can't make it mandatory.
So it is not mandatory. So it is for the future that we want you will take your inputs and your opinions. No, of course it is you only. Yeah, please. Now, Mr. Raman.
Sorry, I just want to add a little bit on this. Basically, if you look at the way this whole system works elsewhere in the world, like for example, if you take UK, it's QAA, and if you take US, it is SEAA, and if you take, for example, Europe, the European Union, then you have Bologna. So there are this outliers in that sense of the term. If they are broadly, they'll give you indicative sort of policy. Now, once that is given, okay, and it's up to the accreditation agencies to qualify an institution whether they are good or bad, whatever it is. Okay, they accredit or they don't accredit. After which, for example, US Department of Education definitely takes into consideration exactly the same thing. They say that, okay, if you're accredited, then you get these things. If you're not, you're not. And in fact, there's one more step that they go. For example, what do you call it? Even SHRM, that is Society for HRM, which is the world's largest association for HR, also recognizes accreditation. They say that if your school is accredited, automatically we will list you for recruitment. If you are not, then you have to prove yourself. So this is the system, that's the general system. But here, somewhere I think we did follow that system. I'm not denying that we did follow the system, except that we are still very bureaucratic. There is no need for this. Frankly speaking, there's no need for it. AICTE definitely has a role to play. When you start an institution, obviously you have to give the licensing and everything else, and then you should leave it. That's where I have a problem with the NIRF. See, institutions like NIRF should not be there, frankly speaking, because you did have a history of ranking, media ranking in this country. You leave it at that. There are more than 7 or 8 of them, and they can take care of the situation. In case you have a problem, you definitely call all of them together and then talk to them and say, hey, listen guys, you are not supposed to be doing all these things. Why don't you try and improve your ranking system? When we were doing ranking, we were calling all the IIMs together every second year or third year and asking them, IIMs, MDI, IMD, everybody, we used to call them and say that, come on, if you have any problem at all with this, please point out to us, we'll correct it. Course correction can be done. See, what has happened, frankly, let me tell you, sir, is that institutions, faculty are running around helter-skelter, trying to comply with all sorts of paperwork. And on top of that, you have AICTE, then you have this NIRF particularly. Now, it's become a big pressure on the schools, the institutions. Should we have it? Why? Why should we have it? We have NBA and NAC. Why don't we improve that process, which is improving in any case, and leave it at that? Why NIRF? My question is this. So we are somewhere along the line, we are bureaucratic the whole thing. Now, sir, the last one is our Margadarshak.
Yeah.
This Margadarshak, is it a Margadarshak or Margadarshak?
Yeah, it is done through
Margadarshaks only, because they are individual mentors who will go to the institution.
Sir.
But the process is called as Margadarshak.
Exactly, sir. Sir, that's where I have a problem again. See, what happens now? Who decides who should be part of what? Again, it's a bureaucratic process. Again, there is a competition and say that no, I want to be part of this. You have no choice at all. If you look at the selection process, and then you are saying, for example, when you are 15, 16 or 25 years, then you are saying 50 hours now. Do you know what happens? Huge pressure on everyone. For what? At the end of the day, what are we supposed to be doing? We are supposed to be catering to the students. We are supposed to be catering to the quality of the faculty. And we are only doing for paperwork. We are running around for paperwork, we are running around for publications, we are running around for getting our compliance parameters in, so on. I mean, at the end of the day, we are, I think, frankly, sir, that we are wrapping ourselves in unnecessary circles, which we should not. We should try to be as simple as that. Globally, there are enough examples available, whether it's Europe, whether it's US, it's available. And let's follow that. And we, in fact, we did started, I think at the end of the start of the debate here, we did in this country also, we started looking at saying that let's have a higher education council, advisory council, and leave it at that. And they will take care of the rest of it. So that's my view, sir. Maybe extreme, but that's
Yeah, I think, yeah. So there is going to be a council, the Higher Education Council sooner or later. And it is being talked about for last 10, 11 years now. I think what you are saying, trying to make a point here is what we already have, and about Margadarshan or Margadarshak is actual or mandatory accreditation or not. I think all those good institutions are going in for accreditation themselves. Those who are not going in for accreditation, AICTE or UGC through Margadarshan or Paramarsh scheme, they are hand-holding. The Margadarshaks who are going to the institutions are being paid by AICTE. So it is more of a facilitation, and it is not mandatory. It is up to them. Otherwise also, if you look at the reality, the institutions are paying huge sum of money to the mentors. They are recruiting consultants and spending huge amount. So we are just saving their money, and these mentors are actually the faculty members from IITs and NITs, retired. We are trying to use their potential. Otherwise, after retirement, they are not doing much, and they have a huge potential. So this is the utilization of the potential that we have. Now, I would like to have some comments, particularly on the process of accreditation, ranking, multiple ranking. Just before I request Madam to ask a question, I would like to also add that there is a possibility in near future to have multiple accreditation bodies, which